I will say for 99.99999% of the population who are trying to be designers, who are designers, the one thing that you do need to do is you need to write things down or say them out loud, because language is a different way of thinking than graphic illustrations.
Right.
Illustrations allow us to lie and cheat, and we look at an illustration and we communicate to another human being via words, right? That's the translation that happens when we look at a drawing, we talk about it. But if the ideas of a project only exist as illustrations and they're never written down, you're not actually testing them in the way they need to be tested. In other words, it's very simple to look at a drawing, say a bunch of cool stuff, and then someone say, okay, yeah, I kind of get what you're saying, and then we read into it, and then it's good. It's just a cop-out, really, in terms of criticism, and it's a cop-out in terms of the design process and creating good design, right? I'm not saying that you only write to solve problems. You have to do both, but it's another testing. It's a testing ground that you can't avoid, and it's almost like the ultimate testing ground. It also works into writing skills, which you need to develop. I think your communication skills in that way.
Well, and writing leads into talking and speaking, right?
Yeah.
And like if you do a diagram, you should be able to explain it to somebody. That's why, like through architecture school, it's such a big pain in the butt to do presentation, because you basically have to go through every single thing that's on the wall and explain why it's on the wall and what it is. And it is, kind of annoying, and sometimes it's difficult and it doesn't make sense. And sometimes you don't want to talk about those things, but it is important that you do and you learn how to talk about them, because it's one baby step through the next step, right? And you don't really want to miss that, because it's a thinking process.
Design is very parallel to writing a paper, and a lot of people don't know how to write. But you have a brainstorm process. You need to put things down on paper. You can't just, unless you're Frank Lloyd Wright or whoever, you can't just be thinking about stuff and then sit down and plan to write the entire story, entire book, from the first word to the last word in order. Fuck no. There's a whole process to it, right? And one of the first things that happens too in terms of structuring is you create an outline. You write your shit down. You create an outline to know what's big and small, what's important and not important, right?
You never do that.
When
you write, you never
actually,
do it.
yeah.
Oh,
No, I do.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But my outlines are just, really
you get lost in the details.
there's a back and forth. You can't be structured throughout the entire process.
You're right. Like you first you gather all your data, all your characters, your moods, your elements, your atmospheres, your proof, right? Your detective work, right? Then you put strings in between, and then you start writing like what ties people together, and then you have your outline, and then you just start developing it.
If you're stuck with trying to propose something,